Welcome to episode 253 of the Fabulously Keto Podcast. And today I'm joined by Miriam Moffat, or Miri, who I was introduced to through someone I know through my networking group. We had a really interesting chat about our businesses and the work she does, and I immediately thought she would be a great podcast guest because she brings a slightly different but very relevant perspective to health and well-being. Miriam isn't low carb, but there's so much crossover in how we think about the body, about stress, about habits and inflammation, and showing up well in everyday life. She also is very much an advocate for cutting out sugar and really paying attention to what you eat. Miriam has a background in teaching, sports rehabilitation, massage, Pilates, and more recently, vocal massage therapy. And she has some fascinating insights in how our voice, posture, breath, food, and lifestyle all connect to our voice. This is a really thought-provoking conversation about something we use every day but rarely think about, our voice, and how looking after it can impact confidence, communication, and overall health. Here's Miri's bio. Miriam Moffat is a graduate sports rehabilitator, educator, and vocal massage therapist. Miri helps professional voice users speak with confidence, authority, and clarity, so they're seen, heard, and paid according to their value in the workplace. Drawing on her teaching experience and her background as a STOTT Pilates mat work instructor, Miri guides clients to use breath and posture to calm nerves, project presence, and connect authentically with any audience. She brings a holistic approach to vocal care, combining physical well-being with vocal impact. Miri is registered with BASRAT, British Association for Sports Rehabilitators and Trainers, and is an executive contributor for Brains magazine. That's BRAINZ magazine. So let's go and hear from Miri. Welcome, Miriam, or can I call you Miri, to the Fabulously Keto Podcast. It's fabulous to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Jackie. Thank you.
You're very welcome. We always start with, where in the world are you?
I'm in the lovely Walthamstow in East London. I'm not originally from Walthamstow, as you can probably deduce from my accent. I grew up in Dublin City, Ireland, and that's where I'm originally from. And then I came here shortly after my dad died, and my mum moved back here and met my husband. And the rest, as they say, is history.
So is your mum from here originally?
She grew up well, she's got a sort of a mixed background. She grew up she's very familiar with Golders Green, Hendon, Cricklewood sort of areas, and I remember visiting those places as a child. And yeah, so happy memories of North London.
Well, it's lovely to have you near to me and not that far away. So why don't we start with, I'm going to preface this with, for our listeners, in the fact that you're not low carb at all, but there's a lot of crossover, I think, with what you think about, what you work with. So we
Yeah.
have a lot of health things that we can focus on, even though it's not particularly low carb. So for the listeners, just bear in mind that Miri isn't low carb, but there's lots of interesting things that I think we can talk about, and not everybody has to do the same things that we do, so I think that's great.
Thank you.
So why don't you start by giving us a little bit of background to how you came to where you are now?
Well, my background is in teaching. In a previous life, I taught A-level biology and GCSE science in various London schools, and mostly in a school in Wood Green. And I was there for, gosh, lost count, so many years. And that's where I met my husband. And it was lovely just to work with him. That was my job. teaching and not a great deal. But then I got to the point where I wanted to do something different. I thought I want to add to my skill set. And a particular day, it was a very stressful day teaching. And I just thought there must be something else that I can do. Am I going to do this until the day I retire? And I thought to manage stress, because teaching is a stressful job,
Yeah.
I need to get more physically active. I need to go to the gym. I need to think about what I'm eating. Because at that point, health was, I wasn't a gym buddy as I thought of myself, but I did cycle and I cycled everywhere. But I thought I want to do a little bit more with this and started going to the gym, really got into classes, spin classes, aerobics, loved them. I absolutely loved them. And I loved the way I felt when I came out of a class all sweaty and buzzy and, all the happy hormones. And then over time, I noticed that my people who are participating with me, they'd sort of go up to the teacher and they say, "Oh, I've got this pain or that pain. What do you think I should do with it?" And I thought, actually, do you know something? I'm a teacher, so I could teach these classes instead of just being a participant. How about I look at getting qualified? And I did that through the YMCA. I got my level 2 class instructor. I got my level 3 personal trainer. Level 3 became a level 5 sports massage therapy at North London School of Sports Massage, because now learning new skills and expanding your horizons does something up here. It increases your confidence. You feel like you can do anything because you can learn anything, and anybody can learn new skills.
And it's very good for our brains to learn new skills.
Right, great for your brain. I discovered parts of my brain that I thought had shut down ages ago. I'm not going to go back to university. I'm done with all of that exam stuff and all the stress that comes with the exams. And now I just want to get out there into the big bad world, get a job and start earning. But something was missing for me. And it was this dimension about fitness and health and healthy eating. And I have to tell a story about my mom. I think this is all my mom's fault.
Well,
My
it's good to
mum.
blame someone.
Oh yeah. My mum, super fit on the golf course every day. She's even played for the All Ireland golfing team. So that was how involved in golf she was. She got her handicap down to single figures. So she had a health ethic. And I remember my mum, even growing up as a child, she'd get up in the skills in the bathroom and she'd come out of the bathroom with a face on her as long as a wet week. I've put on a pound. Diet tomorrow. And that would be it. As soon as the weight changed on the scales, right, diet tomorrow, right, I'm cutting out all sugar, no puddings. And she had a health ethic. She's 91 now, and she's still going out every day and doing her shopping, walking to the shops, living independently. She's completely compass mentis, and on so many levels, she's a role model for me in terms of what health, like when you really invest in your health and you take it seriously and you make it a priority, it gives you a different quality of life.
Yeah.
Here I am learning about sports massage therapy and taking on clients and then seeing the results, how they felt less stressed, how they had a better night's sleep, how they felt that they moved more efficiently. And of course, it didn't stop there, did it?
No, of course not.
Can't stop. So that level 5, I still wanted to do more. And during this time, I'm still teaching full time, probably taking on quite a lot, teaching gym classes in the evening, going into school during the day. I got this notion one morning. I woke up and thought, you know what? I think I want to go back to university. No, no, you can't do that. No, perish the thought. I think I want to go to university again. So I looked at potential master's degrees that I could do and work at the same time, and I found one. at Middlesex University, and that was the graduate sports rehabilitation degree. And I submitted an application. Like, there's no guarantee. I said to my husband, I said, there's no guarantee they're going to take me. You know, I've been out of mainstream education for a long time. You know, they might look at it and think, nah, she's been out of it for too long. I got accepted and started my studies and got really into that. At this point, I'm teaching part-time to support myself during my master's degree. So that was at Middlesex University, mainly at Allianz Park, where I worked with the rugby players as part of their rehab program. And the staff and students of Middlesex University were our main clients when we were students.
Yeah.
There, I had an amazing time. I think any kind of learning expands your brain. It increases your confidence. You know, you've got to do research. You've got to learn how to use the library and how to look up different systems to find different resources there. You have to learn how to articulate an idea, maybe debate with somebody with different points of view or different ways of interpreting data, lifestyle, whatever that particular topic is. And I think it really is good for you. I think everyone, I believe in lifelong learning.
Yes, me too.
So that's where I ended up with a master's degree and then registering with the British Association of Sports Rehabilitators and Trainers. So registered with BASRAT, and at a therapy expo, this was just last year, I stumbled across a presentation on vocal massage therapy. What's that? Of course, I have to listen. And I was absolutely fascinated because with all of the exercise, nutrition, posture, muscle therapy, soft tissue therapy, not once in all of my courses did the quality of our voice and the health of our voice come up. It's almost like your voice is just there.
Yes.
You know, you take for granted that when you open your mouth to speak, your voice is going to work for you. Nobody thinks about the mechanism that powers that voice, the structures that need to be working optimally to power that voice. And you can probably hear in mine, because of 20 years of teaching A-level biology and GCSE science, I got no training on vocal care, how to take care of your voice. In fact, teacher's throat was a thing. And if you ended up with teacher's throat, oh, you're so dedicated. Oh, that's because you're working so hard. Teacher's throat. Oh, yeah. Only a matter of time before you'd get it. Yeah, in the classroom, day in, day out. And it has damaged my vocal cords. And I know this because I had some investigations for thyroid 6 months ago, and I've had a scope put down there. So my consultant did a good thorough look around there and saw that you've got these little nodules on your vocal cords, probably from 20 years of teaching in secondary schools. So that got me started on a new passion, and I qualified as a vocal massage therapist with a lovely, amazing guy called Charlie Ward at the end of May. And I went to Kenilworth to study with him for a few days, and that has added another string to my bow, which I'm totally passionate about now.
So that sounds fabulous. Who, I was going to say, who's your ideal client? But maybe that's not for this podcast. But
Well,
who needs a vocal, get your teeth in, Jackie. Who needs a vocal massage therapist?
if you are a professional woman or a man, I think we underestimate the power of our voice as a tool for communication, as a tool for empathy, as a tool for sharing our ideas, And not only public speakers, because I think we have this idea that professional speakers must be public speakers, they must be radio presenters, they must be TV presenters, they must be on the stage, they must be actors. And it's anyone who goes to work and speaks to other people at work.
Yeah.
Or even if you're not at work, you have a partner, you might have children, you have neighbors. So anyone who wants their voice to have impact and to get their message across and to communicate in a way that enables others to understand you and enables you to understand others and where they're coming from, and to articulate an idea in such a way that it lands the way you want it to with your audience.
And your voice. So, when you say vocal massage therapist, are you physically massaging? Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yes. Not physical. Oh, I'm not sticking my fingers down people's throats.
No, but from the outside, I guess.
Yes.
Outside.
So all of the muscles that are involved in breathing, all of the structures, so that'll involve the rib cage, spinal cord, even the way we stand. The way we stand in front of an audience, that audience has already made its mind up before we even open our mouths whether or not they're going to listen to us. By the way we step up onto a stage and walk to where we're going to deliver our presentation, they've already decided. So a person who stands tall, who owns the space, who's really happy to be there, who's relaxed, who's grounded. And a lot of this comes from the Pilates repertoire because I'm also a Pilates instructor. So I teach my clients to strengthen their core, to stand in such a way that their head, neck, and spine are aligned, that they are breathing abdominally, and that they are relaxed, and that they are centered. Because that's the first thing that the audience is going to see, and that's the first thing that is going to enable them to decide, will I listen to this person or not? Has this person got their act together? Do I think this person's an expert? Do I think that this person has anything worthwhile to say that would be of benefit to me? So those are the questions that they're subconsciously asking. They're not consciously
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
this, but it's going on in their subconscious brain. Our subconscious brain is all the time switched on and all the time with the antennae out asking these questions. So that's where it starts, I believe, with posture, with grounding, with breathing. So
Yes.
I do a lot of breath work with my clients.
Fabulous. So tell us some of the things so we've got the way we stand, our breathing. What else? Muscle structure, I guess.
Mhm.
What else is involved? What else helps us to improve our voices?
Making eye contact with your audience and giving yourself 3, maybe 4 seconds to stand, ground yourself, make eye contact, to connect with them, and then maybe ask them a question that's got a high likelihood of getting a yes.
Yeah.
Like, raise your hand if you would like a promotion at work and to earn more money. Yes. And raise your hand if you would like to explore ways that you could achieve that, or something along those lines, and get them to say yes again, and or get them involved. So the first thing, interact with them, eye contact, interact with them, and also to be mindful of where our voice is coming from. So we look at pace, appropriate speed. We'll look at lowering our register if we want to be presented as the expert, because we're not going to talk like this I'm an expert in this. That's the voice that we will use when we're talking to our kids. We might go down the pub. I might go, hey Jackie, how you doing, down the pub, or on the phone, or I might phone you up to tell you something great happened. and I might be talking 19 to the dozen because I'm so excited about it. I want to get the words out. And that's appropriate for that particular context.
Yes.
But when we are presenting and we have an audience in front of us, then we need to drop it down so that it resonates from the lower parts of our ribs. So that's where we're breathing from. And I might even get in my workshops, I might even get my clients to place their hands down here and go all the way down and see what happens. And then take a nice deep breath in and just feel how that the lower part of the rib starts to expand, because we don't, I think as a species, and especially the way our lifestyle is now, we're what we call shallow breathers. We get involved in a task, we're slumped over the computer, we might have a coffee on one end and we've got the phone in the other. We're not thinking mindfully about how we are breathing. So the 2/3 of the lungs that are way down here don't really get much. And they get a little bit left out.
Yeah.
Until it comes time to present, and then you realize my voice isn't as strong as it could be. What do I need to do to be better prepared the next time? Because we're not going to hold our audience's attention if we don't present it to them in a clear, concise, clarity, certain way. If we're prevaricating, we're not quite sure if what we're saying is the right thing, our audience is going to switch off.
Yeah. And when you say presenting, I'm sure a lot of our listeners listening probably don't present, but in the same time, you you will be listening, you will be talking to other people at certain times, and if you can come across as a strong person with something important to say, that's going to have much more impact than if you are very timid. You might be timid because of your personality. You might be timid because you don't know how to project your voice. So,
That's
we network and we see people in the room that are very timid and they keep their head down and they mumble, or not so much mumble, but they try and get through it really quickly without. I sometimes try and get through quickly because I have a lot to say, but I'm very good at projecting my voice and speaking up, even though as a person, I'm quite introverted. I call myself an ambivert, which is neither introverted nor extrovert, but I'm the sort of person that tends to shy away from people. But I do push myself out there and I do make sure I talk to people. And when I comes to speaking about what I'm going to speak about, I make sure that people can hear me.
yes.
Even though I read my script, I write it down because I know I'll get sidetracked if I just go ad lib. So I do read it, but
Yeah.
it still comes across clearly. And I
Yeah.
think that's the difference. So people can probably be now listening and thinking, where in my life do I use my voice and where could I improve it?
Exactly. Exactly. And I suppose I would class myself as a natural introvert, because growing up, I was the kid in the class who just did not want to be asked a question. I would sort of drop my head down if the teacher was asking questions, like, please don't ask me to
Mm,
answer anything. And I was that kid, the one who wanted to be invisible, the one who wanted to just fade into the background, get on with the work and don't bother me.
yeah.
uh, and that didn't serve me, because I saw my classmates excel. I saw them get awards. I saw them get picked for the basketball team. I was always the last one to be picked for the basketball team or the netball team or whatever it was, because I was this shy, withdrawn teenager. And I think at the age of 13, 14, when you're going through puberty, and everyone goes through it, self-conscious and all the rest of it. And I grew out of that as I gained more confidence going up through school and saw the benefits of taking part in debates, of being in the school play, participating and putting my hand up and disagreeing with somebody in a class. during a lesson or answering a question or clarifying something for someone. And I really saw the benefit of just coming out of myself and developing that little bit of confidence that makes what you have to say of real value, because it does, it matters. If you don't speak up and someone else 5 minutes later shares the idea that you had and they get praised for, oh, well done, that is such a good answer, great. And you're thinking, well, that was my idea, I thought of it first. But you didn't speak up.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's what life is like. You've got to put yourself out there, and not in a pushy way, but in a confident, grounded way, where your message gets across, your voice is heard, you are seen, and especially in the workplace, you are going to be paid what you are worth, because you will put yourself forward for that promotion. You will share your ideas. You will challenge policies. You will step outside your comfort zone and take on a little bit extra and develop your skills, or do something and learn something that you haven't learned or done before.
Yeah. And that, I'm a primal health coach, and one of the primal laws, there's 10 primal laws, and one of them is use your brain, and it's about expanding yourself as a person, whether you're learning a language or learning an instrument or just learning something. We always need to be learning and growing, and if that is expanding ourselves personally and being able to talk more confidently,
Yeah,
that's going to be of benefit to you and everyone around you, because people
absolutely.
benefit when you share your thoughts.
I think everyone should learn public speaking. Everyone should be able to present or to share a story. And story really connects with the audience. If you've got a great story, audience loves it.
Yeah.
That's a great skill in any presenting. Asking and answering your own questions. Like, what do I mean by vocal therapy? What do I mean by vocal massage? What do I mean by taking care of your voice? What do I mean when I say that your voice is a tool for communication, for advancement, for getting on in life? I think it's very much underestimated. So what do I mean by that? And answering your own question, because your audience will have those questions anyway.
Mm,
When you answer them for them, you draw them in. They
yeah.
feel that you are listening to them.
Yeah. So how does food and drink implicate our voices?
Well, I think number one, and I'm probably guilty of this the same as everyone, we don't drink enough water. And then our voices get croaky, and we tank up with coffee, tea, maybe even a little bit of alcohol sometimes. you know, it's probably best to avoid it. So I would say staying well hydrated keeps the vocal folds supple, prevents strain and dryness, so that the voice carries with, the least amount of effort, and it's clear. And I think a hydrated voice naturally commands more attention because it's clear, it's relaxed, it's effortless. So that's the first thing I would say about hydration. I think it's so important for general health, and anything that's good for our general health will be good for our vocal health as well. So the other thing I would say, balanced energy for stamina. And this is where we look at whole foods like complex carbs, protein, avoiding sugary snacks, on the go. And coming from a teaching background, I can tell you that teachers, we forget to eat. Sometimes we forget to drink, sometimes because we're preparing a lesson, or we're chatting to kids at the end of a lesson, or during lunchtime, or we're on duty. And we kind of forget that you haven't had a drink for a while. And that's why your voice has gone all croaky all of a sudden. So,
Mm,
yes, drinking, having that balanced diet, and to sustain energy, because when we don't sustain our energy levels will drop anyway.
Yeah.
Other people will hear it in our voice because we're like, I just don't want to have this conversation anymore. And what time is it? I've got another 20 minutes of this lesson left. Oh my God, how am I going to survive? So you go into that head space where you're talking to yourself.
So one of the things you said to me was about blood sugar stability, so keeping your blood sugar balanced. Now, this is something that my listeners will understand because
Yeah.
in a low carb environment, our sugars are naturally balanced because, they're not flat. They
Yeah.
have ups and downs when we eat,
Yeah.
but they're much more stable. So their energy is going to be more stable and they're going to feel like they can cope in a way, we're not getting those blood sugar crashes
Drops.
after
Yeah.
we've eaten, that slumpy feeling. So they
Yeah.
could probably relate to that.
Hmm. Well, I wouldn't say that I don't eat a great deal of carbs. I wouldn't call myself keto, but for example, a breakfast might be, it will have eggs, it will have maybe there'll be fruit, there'll be yogurt. So I'm really mindful of what I eat. And I think since February, I've lost 20 pounds since February.
Fabulous. I've gained it, I think.
Oh,
No, probably not that much, but it feels like that much.
I got to the point where, as a health practitioner myself, I felt if I'm putting on weight, I'm not an ideal advocate for my own profession. And I started to feel self-conscious about it. So I just thought, right, there's no point in wasting time feeling sorry for yourself. What action are you going to take? And you need to start now
Hmm.
and get a system in place, make some small changes that will make a big difference. Look at what you're eating and do an audit of what you're eating and when. And I discovered that I would nosh between meals, like raid the fridge because I want, I don't know, a quick snack or something, especially when I'm working. And I noticed that I'm an emotional eater. And I noticed that I would raid the fridge more often when I had a big project going on. And that was a form of procrastination.
Mm.
Let me step away from the computer for a bit because I need a rest, and I'll go to the kitchen and, put the kettle on, make a nice cup of tea, and have to have something with it. But it was an avoidance strategy because I came to realize there's a hard phone call that I'm postponing. I'm putting it off. It might be a client who has inquired, and now I need to phone them back and go into professional sales, ask them all the questions, have this conversation with them, and they may or may not choose to sign up to work with me. And I noticed that rejection's a thing for me. And I think it is for many people.
Yeah, I think so too.
So my way of avoiding that was, right, step away from the computer because you need a rest. Go and make a cup of tea. And so I used food probably as an avoidance tactic or as a weapon to avoid doing something else, as an excuse
Yeah.
to avoid doing something else.
There's a
And
doctor in our space called Rob Sivis, and he says snacking is always an emotional event,
yeah,
meaning that when we snack, especially when we're not hungry,
yeah,
that's because there's something else going on.
absolutely. And I noticed that in myself. And, I'm a carer for my mum as well. And my mum has been in and out of A&E with various things over the past sort of 6 or 8 months. And there's always an emotional dimension to that because it's your mom. Every time we're calling the ambulance and paramedics are on their way, I'm thinking, how much longer will I have my mom for? She's 91 and she's very independent. She's still got all her marbles. She's still fit and healthy. However, the natural aging process is progressing, and there is an emotional dimension to that. So my way of comforting myself, if you like, was to snack.
Yeah.
And that's how the weight started to creep up.
And one of the things you said, which I think is would be relevant to people listening, is that you started to audit what you're eating.
Mhm.
And I think so often we eat things and we don't notice what we're doing. And I've put a little bit of weight on over the last, let me say, 3, 4, 5 months, something like that. And I noticed because I just got a bit lax. And so I'd go to the fridge, and one of the things I'd pick up when I was at the fridge is sugar snaps, raw sugar snaps. It's a vegetable, it's fairly healthy. Some people would say it's not, but anyway, we'll go with it's okay. But just keep picking at snacking and doing things like that. You eat or consume a lot more than you think you do.
Yeah, you do.
And then you've got that. Oh, well, it's only a half a dozen sugar snaps, and then a bit later there's another half a dozen sugar snaps, and before I know it, I've gone through the packet, and things like that. Just it sort of creeps up on you without even noticing. So one of the things that I've been doing recently is really not snacking. So I don't have anything in the morning other than water until lunchtime, and I do have my little chocolate mid-afternoon most days, not today, but most days I might. But that's okay. I'm okay with that because it's homemade. I've made it myself. I know what's in it,
Yeah.
and it's it doesn't send me spiraling into eating loads. So I think, yeah, I'm doing an audit of what you're eating, and just being aware of what you're eating is really important.
Mindfulness, because I realized I'd got into such bad habits, and I'd have been to the fridge and I'm halfway through, what we used to have in the house then, chocolate biscuits, and I've eaten
Mhm.
about 3 or 4 of them, and like it's like I don't even remember starting that. I've eaten about 3 or 4 of them. How did that happen? Like just getting into that mindless or sitting in front of the telly, munching on something, and I thought I have to be a bit, because I believe that how we do anything is how we do everything. So if I'm eating without due care and attention, where else am I doing that? That could be in my posture or just slump in front of the telly. That could be anywhere in your life. So for me, being mindful around food made a big difference. And I was shocked to see just how many additional calories a day I was consuming. Because when I started to write everything down and keep a journal about what I was eating, the first couple of weeks I was like, what? How many chocolate biscuits did you have? How many? I was a little bit shocked, and I thought, no wonder your weight is creeping up on the scales. So what can you cut back on? Cut back on, have 3 meals a day, a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner, and don't eat anything after 7 o'clock. And if you feel hungry, have a glass of water instead, and then see if you're still hungry.
Yeah.
And usually, more than 9 times out of 10, a glass of water does the job.
Yeah.
20 minutes later, I've forgotten that I wanted to eat something, because now I'm back on track. And probably half the time I was dehydrated instead of hungry, but just telling myself I was hungry because I wanted to justify it somehow.
Yeah, we all do that. We're very good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drink some water, go for a walk,
Yeah.
do some little exercises for 2 minutes. 2 minutes of
That
exercise is,
exactly makes all the difference. Just gets the circulation going again, oxygenates the brain, happy hormones.
yeah.
That's the thing. That is it.
So one of the things I say to my clients is, if you feel like you're hungry, do all these things. And I'm not saying don't eat, because maybe you do need to eat. But would
Mhm.
you eat something like some eggs or a steak or some broccoli? If you'd eat that, then you probably are hungry. But if you
Yeah.
just want some crisps or chocolates or biscuits, cookies, then that's not real hunger. That's an emotional.
That's emotion. There's an emotional root to that.
Yeah.
I think the key is getting to the emotional root. I'm a chronic procrastinator and I'm aware of it, but I can catch myself and I can make a decision in the moment, right? This is the task I'm going to do. I'm going to do it now. Get it done. And yeah, I think sometimes you have to be a little bit strict with yourself.
Yeah. Miri, one of the things that you mentioned to me was about reducing inflammation to improve our voice and how we project our voice and making our voice work better. Tell us some of the foods that you've found. I mean, I could probably guess, but tell us some of the things that you found that impacts voice.
Well, I think even with good energy, some foods can, that I call them quiet sabotagers, because we don't immediately think that the food that we are eating or what we are drinking is going to have an impact on the quality of our vocal cords. And sometimes that can cause irritation. I think of food and drink as like the back crew, because when people think about vocal, they think the power comes from warm-ups, from breath work or posture. But here's the thing. What we eat and drink I believe, plays a huge role in how strong, confident, and connected our voice feels. So think about how your voice feels, and this might be something that you've never done before. You might even I've recorded myself and I've heard my voice after certain meals because I'm listening for that now. After dairy, fried foods, you've gone out on the lash, you've had lots of sugar, you might have been to a kid's party and you might have eaten just a little bit too much birthday cake. And then notice how your voice sounds and feels after that. So your throat will tell you. You might feel a catch in your throat. Your voice might feel, you might have to clear your throat a little bit more often in order to make that sound clearer. Notice small things like that. And I think it's about tuning into the things that we take for granted every day. We don't make a connection between food, what we drink, and how our voice comes across. So
Yeah.
that's what I would say.
I would
Mm,
think the majority of people do not realize how much food and drink impacts their health overall. You know,
exactly.
not just voice, but I mean, you deal with pain management as well. All the things in our body, we run on food. That is our substrate that creates the cells that we need. So, yeah, I don't think people give it enough credence.
That's right. And I think it's not just our throats, how we feel after we've had a heavy meal with lots of dairy or maybe sugary foods, but nutrition also shapes how calm and grounded we feel before we speak. If you are used to having like high protein, low carb, you watch your sugar intake, you make healthier choices. I think it's not about deprivation, it's about making a healthier choice. Like I'll have a piece of fruit instead of, I don't know,
Piece of cake
a
or a
piece of
biscuit.
cake or a biscuit or something. Making choices like that, like what is a healthier option for what I really want now. I think that goes a long way towards improving the quality of our voices.
Mm,
And yeah, that all lends itself to feeling calm and confident. Because I think when you're healthy, you feel good. And when you feel good, you're automatically going to come across in a healthy, grounded way.
yeah. Absolutely. So, Miri, is there anything else that you wanted to mention today that we haven't spoken about?
Oh, we've talked about so much. How blood sugar swings can create. Have we talked about blood sugar swings creating jitters and nerves? I know that anytime that I've had too much sugar, I mean, my husband can tell. You've had too much. You've had too much sugar. You're worse than
Yeah.
a kid, worse than a child. So, coffee, pastry, a cake. Suddenly there's a sugar rush. and shaky nerves. So I think, there's a lot to do to prepare if you know that you're going to be giving a presentation at work, if you know you're going to be going for an interview. I think there are really proven steps that we can take to make sure that we show up and that we're present at our best when it really matters.
Yeah. And that might even be at work. It might even just be participating in a meeting or talking to a boss about whatever that is. I was going to say a rise, but yeah, it might not, that doesn't happen all the time. But, when you need to come across well and there's something
Yes,
important that you've got to say, these are times when you should be thinking about what am I
absolutely.
eating before that time.
Yeah, it's about credibility, I think. It's about credibility, and that comes from clarity, and that comes from confidence, and stepping into your position as the expert. So if you do have to go to your boss to suggest a change to a policy or to suggest an idea of how like your department could run more efficiently or something like that, being the expert, being grounded, being clear about what you have to say, I think will go a long way towards you being listened to and taken seriously. We
Mm.
might not always get what we want when we ask for it, but I think we increase our chances of success when we are mindful about how we speak and how we connect with the person that we are speaking to.
Yeah, fabulous.
So, So I think, yes, I think our voice is an instrument, and I know lots of musicians. I work with musicians and I work with singers. And musicians, for example, there's no way that they would sling their instrument around the way we sling our voices around. They take such special care. It goes into the container, the case, whatever that is, at the end of a session. It's placed carefully in there, it's dusted down. That instrument will get serviced regularly, like, but we would go to the doctor. These instruments get just as good and detailed care with
Yeah.
professional musicians. And there's no way that they would take that instrument for granted. That instrument is their livelihood. And if we were to think about our voice as a tool to enhance our livelihood, our quality of life, quality of our relationships, you know, we can, I think it's life transformational when you really get in touch with that. And I'm still only scraping the top of the iceberg. And a lot of the work that I do is inspired by a lady called Patsy Rodenberg. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with her work.
No, I
She's one of
haven't heard of
the
her.
leading Shakespearean actresses, recognized as one of the world's leading voice coaches. So she has worked with actors including Daniel Craig, Orlando Bloom, Helen Mirren, Ian McKellen, Hugh Jackman, Nicole Kidman. She works with politicians and business leaders. So she is one of the world's leading voice coaches. And I love her work. And the reason for that is that she has a system where she talks about three circles of influence. And those three circles of influence, she calls them circle 1, 2, and 3. Now, circle 1, as we were talking earlier about the shrinking violet, the person who just doesn't want to be seen. I was one of those, please don't look at me.
Mm.
The wallflower at a party, or, the person who wants to be in the background.
Yeah, that was
And
me too.
she calls that circle 1. It's the withdrawing and the I want to be invisible. I'm here, but I want to be invisible. Don't bother me. And it's where we go inside our heads when we're talking to ourselves. So our inner dialogue is going on within that circle.
Yeah.
And then there's the other extreme, and we've probably all seen it in the workplace, or we've seen it on TV, or we've seen people being interviewed, or we've had these pushy salespeople, phone us up and out of the blue, cold callers, and they're very pushy,
Yep.
almost like they're trying to convince you that their product, their way of doing things, their idea is the best way, and that goes to the other extreme.
Yes.
Both of those circles are stress default positions because they come from a place of insecurity. They don't come from a place of authenticity and groundedness.
Mm-hmm.
So circle two, and Patsy talks about this she's written a book on second circle, and it's called Using Positive Energy for Success in Every Situation. Circle two, where we get grounded. We breathe from our abdomen, we're fully present, and our voice is projecting at just the right level. It's our authentic voice. We're not trying too hard, and we're not, I don't really know what to say, and I'm not sure if I want to be here or not, kind of thing. We're right there with our audience and we connect with them. And that's the second circle that Patsy talks about in her book. So a lot of the work that I do is inspired by her. I think she's amazing. Her work is incredible, and I think everyone should read her books. So yeah, so she is one of my inspirational people behind this work.
Yeah. Fabulous. So how can people get in contact with you if they feel like they want to explore their voice a bit more, even if they're not singers or actors? How can they do that?
Well, I believe that everyone is a professional voice user because we all have a voice, and it's God-given, and God gave us our voice for a reason, to connect, to express our uniqueness, our talents, our ideas, and I believe every single voice matters and every single voice should be heard. And I think, we talk about workplaces where women's voices are maybe not given the place that they should be, toxic workplaces. And all I'll say about toxic workplace, if anyone's in a toxic workplace, don't waste your energy trying to change the culture there because you'll never change it. Channel your energy into finding a new position where your talents and skills will be appreciated. And that's all I can say about that. So my work is inspired by Patsy Rodenberg, and I can give you a list of books that listeners might want to get their hands on. I think she's got a lot of positive content to deliver.
I think
So
what we'll do is we'll include her name and maybe that book, Using Positive Energy, in the show notes, and then
okay,
people can go off and
really good.
look around. Yeah. So how can they contact you though?
So mine, they can call me. My phone number. I have an email, so they can email me. My website. I think I've given you all of those details.
No,
Um,
yeah, you have, and we will include it in the show notes. But for the listeners, just tell them your website
So
details.
my website is miriammoffatsportstherapy.com. So my contact details are all on my website.
Perfect.
Miriam
So
Sports Therapy.
fabulous. Before we finish tonight, can you leave us with your 3 top tips? Now, that
So
could be around voice, it could be around anything you like.
3 top tips. So I think the first thing, keep it really simple. Try one nutrition shift this week and share your experience with me. Like one thing, you're going to reduce your sugar. You're going to drink an additional glass of water. You're going to go to bed maybe half an hour earlier than you normally would. We haven't even touched on sleep yet.
Mm.
That might be another one. Sleep is another thing, another one of my things. So, yes, so take an additional glass of water, reduce your sugar intake, and become more mindful of how you're breathing. I think breath, because our voice is powered by our breath.
Mm.
You're breathing in a shallow way. Become
Yeah.
more mindful about how you're breathing. Notice when you're breathing shallow and engage the abdominals and take a nice deep breath and see how that makes a difference. Our voice is not going to be able to access those deeper tones that come from the lower ribs and present us as the expert and the authority in our field.
Yeah, fabulous.
Those three simple things will make a difference.
Fabulous. Miri, thank you so much for being with me today.
So much, Jackie. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed that conversation with Miri, and I hope it's given you something new to think about, especially how your voice reflects what's going on in your body, your energy, and your lifestyle. I know some of you are teachers, so there might be some ideas that for you that you can put into practice so that you don't get teacher's throat. Whether you're speaking at work, in meetings with family, or simply wanting to feel more confident and grounded in how you communicate, there were so many practical takeaways in this episode around breath, posture, hydration, food choices, and awareness. You'll find Miriam's website and contact details in the show notes if you'd like to explore her work further, along with the 2 books that she mentioned during our chat. As always, if you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who might find it helpful. Disclaimer. The content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. Our guests, whether healthcare professionals or not, are sharing their personal opinions and experiences. This does not establish a doctor-patient relationship. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional before making changes to your medications, treatment, or lifestyle, particularly if you're on medication or have concerns about your health.